Alright, today I'm going to talk about using LabVIEW to create a sub-VI and using it to make an event structure. So anytime I make a sub-VI, I like to do it by organizing it in a project. If you create a project, you can go to blank project, and then this should pop up. It basically all it does is just keep things much more organized. So I'm going to go in and start a new VI. In this example, I'm going to show you how to make a Fibonacci sequence. So the first thing we want to do is produce one step of a Fibonacci sequence. We do that by going in, and first we want to have our inputs or controls and indicators. So we have one control, one more control, an indicator, and one more indicator. I'm going to name this first num, second num, next, let's say third num, and this is just going to be the second num. Alright, now that we have them here, we need to wire it up. So how a Fibonacci sequence works is you take the first number and the second number, you add them together, and then the next number in your series becomes the addition of the first two. So pretty simple. Just add this in here. Alright, so what we got here is this is what we're going to make into a sub-VI. So I'm going to start it off by, first I want to look at my wiring diagram. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to choose from patterns. I'm going to choose, since I have two inputs, two outputs, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to select my first num to be wired here, my second num to be wired here. I'm going to choose my second num to be wired here, and then my third num to be wired there. Also, what you want to do is you want to change the icon. So what you do is you double click this, and this pops up. I'm just going to make something that somewhat describes the Fibonacci sequence. So I was thinking something like a spiral. Anything you want, you can put text in. Oh. Put it down here. Let's go further down. Maybe I can't do that. Like this then. Just leave that like that. Alright, so now you see the spiral and the different wirings. So I'm going to make this connection is required so that you can't run the program if the two inputs aren't wired up. That's just kind of personal preference, but yeah. So then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save. So I already made this, so I'm just going to overwrite it with fib step. Okay. so now we see the fib step right here. So now I'm going to go into File, New VI, and all I'm going to do is I can drag it in here. I can right click and do Select VI, do it that way. I can, if it was on the desktop, I could just drag it in from the desktop. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but it's pretty straightforward on how to add it. All right, so now that we have this Fibonacci sequence, so I'm just going to wire up my Fibonacci sequence real quickly. And then I'm also going to create a couple displays, indicators, sorry. All right. So what we have is the first numeric goes in there. The next one goes in there. So the second number becomes the first number, and the third number becomes the second number in this sequence. But we do need to output each one. So this will display the Fibonacci sequence when I run it. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2. Oh. Number 5. Oh yeah, because it's the same thing as this. It's not important. So that's the Fibonacci sequence. So now I'm going to add a couple things. I'm going to make an event case. Simply just drag and drop it into there. I'm also going to put, anytime you make an event case, you want to add a while loop around it, generally because once the first time the case has happened, you want it to be able to trigger any time the case happens, not just the first time it happens. If for some reason your application only wants it to trigger the first time it happens, then you don't put it in a while loop. But like any while loop, you're going to create a constant or a control you can put there. And then here, I'm just going to create an indicator. This will show you how many times the loop has run. All right, and then I'm also going to make a, let's say, I'm going to make a Boolean, some kind of button. So every time the button's here, it has an output, but it doesn't need, I'm not going to wire that to anything. And then I'm going to right click up here and I'm going to edit event case. So my events are here. I have the application, this VI. Things can happen outside of my application, but in this VI I have the pane, a mouse click, something like that. but then I have other things. So I'm going to say every time the Boolean value changes, yeah. Actually, I'm going to do every time the mouse, no, I'm going to do every value change. So now anytime this button clicks, the event case should run and it should change. I'm sorry, and the loop should run as well. So let's see this thing run. So the loop hasn't run once. You have to click the button and then it runs. Click it again, runs again. Click it again, runs again. Click it again, runs again. All right. So that is basically it. Now I'm going to talk about your assignment. So your assignment requires you to convert numbers from decimal to Boolean. I mean Boolean. Base 10 to base 2. So one way to do that is to operate like this. You take your number and then you divide it by 2 and you keep track of the remainder. If there's 0 remainder, put it there. Whatever the quotient is, you're gonna use that number as your next number and then divide that by 2 and so on and so forth. You're going to repeat this step over and over again until you get to 0. And with that, then you can use these numbers and flip the order around. And now you have the number in binary. So 156 in base 10 equals 100, 11100 in base 2. I hope that clears up binary. If you guys don't understand binary, it's okay. You just have to know that this is one of the formulas you can use. There are other formulas out there that do the exact same thing in different steps. So best of luck, and if you have any questions, let me know.